Silver Report Uncut. I wanted to start here on some of this crazy stuff going on with energy. We all know there's an energy crisis out there. It keeps only getting worse, and a lot of their plans, their ideas, it may only push the prices even higher. But how high can they go? Let's begin here with the United Nations. Antonio Guterres, he would be the chief there. He was lashing out at the oil and gas industry, accusing it of grotesque greed, calling for additional taxes on their profits. He said, quote, "It is immoral for oil and gas companies to be making record profits from this energy crisis on the backs of the poorest people and communities. I urge all governments to tax these excessive profits and to use the funds to support the most vulnerable people through these difficult times. And I urge people everywhere, send a clear message to the fossil fuel industry and their financiers that this grotesque greed is punishing the poorest and most vulnerable people while destroying our common home." So the top official at the UN is a vocal critic of the oil and gas industry. Earlier this year, he said investing in the new oil or gas projects is delusional and is only going to have negative consequences. New funding for the fossil fuel exploration and production infrastructure is delusional. It will only further feed the scourge of this conflict, pollution, and the catastrophe with the weather. He was really outspoken before against coal investment as well. He called it stupid and saying that dependence on fossil fuels was madness. He's added, quote, "Had we invested massively in renewable energy in the past, we should not be so dramatically at the mercy of the instability of the fossil fuel markets right now." And all the big oil majors did report massive profits both for the first and second quarters of this year, thanks to the higher oil prices. But it's not the first time that prices have been this high, but it may have been the first time that majors are being this careful with the new spending, which is very ironic. Where are they going to push these investors? Where's this money going to go? It's going to be going over to renewable energy. What does that mean exactly? Well, that's part of the reason that all of the uranium companies have been soaring recently. And when you talk about recession-proof investing, the amount of uranium demand does not change whether we're in a recession or not. It's essentially defensive. It's recession-proof. The demand is still going to be there. They're still going to need to purchase it. And there's actually a very limited supply on U.S. soil, and it's very important that it is in the U.S. Now, the show is brought to you in part by Uranium Energy Corps. This company is on a tear recently. In fact, this company's stock has climbed around 26% in the past month. Just at one day in the past week, it was climbing 5.56%. And it's relentless right now. And we haven't even begun to tap the potential here. Of course, the government is coming out and suggesting they're about to buy a bunch of uranium, but there's more than that. The company itself has a lot of strengths going on right now. And what Amira said was that in the past bear market cycle, no one was paying attention to uranium. We were out there drilling and we discovered this deposit. We permitted the project, and today we announced that we've completed the installation of 106 monitor wells for the initial production area of the project. This is an important production-oriented milestone, and it means that we're much more close to being able to restart uranium recovery here. And of course, at the right uranium price. And that price is around $47 or $48, which is the current price in the market. This is right now the newest and largest institutional recovery well field being developed in the United States. And this is not only exciting for our company, but I think it really demonstrates the sector leadership that UEC has in the United States, which is a truly North American-focused uranium developer. Now, it's very significant. It's not small words because there was just requests for the U.S. government to reserve $4 billion for U.S.-mined uranium, and Uranium Energy Corps is primed to capitalize on it. This money can only go towards procurements of U.S.-mined uranium, and then additionally, enrichment and conversion. Within the Department of Energy, you have the U.S. National Nuclear Security Administration, the NSA, who's doing the actual purchasing of uranium, and they've come out with an RFP, which is a tender process looking to buy up to 1 million pounds of physical uranium. And it's just the beginning of this historic development, and Uranium Energy Corps has just come out, I think it was on the 2nd, they announced that they had just submitted a bid to provide some of this. This is the beginning, because the government is now starting to build a strategic uranium reserve. And the more complications we have out in the rest of the world, the more likely and the greater the imperative becomes to build domestic capabilities of uranium. We have very, very little right now. Now, another controversial subject that took place several years ago is called Uranium One. A lot of people were upset at the woman who did it. They talked about it for a long time. And so interesting, this guy's timing is perfect. He happened to be able to acquire Uranium One from their government just about a month before any of this chaos came into play. And Uranium One being returned into the United States, it's very significant with the fact that you now have the U.S. government in the market, the biggest buyer in the market officially looking to buy physical uranium. This is for the first time since the 1950s. Now, it's not just a one-off or one specific reason that it seems bullish right now. The entire fundamentals have completely changed. The Sizewell C plan, it gains approval, highlighting the growing case for investment in uranium stocks as the world shifts towards self-sufficiency. All these countries at once are doing this. Let's talk about some of the demand that's going to be coming in. On Friday, the French energy firm EDF gained approval for their Sizewell C nuclear power plant. The company seeks to expand on their already established Sizewell B plant in Suffolk. And this is particularly notable because it appears to highlight a growing global trend as sentiment softens towards nuclear. Sizewell C has had plenty of opposition throughout its time. There were even local protests ensuring that authorities had to go through 4 rounds of consultancy from the inception of the project in 2012. Now, all of this conflict going on is really looking and making countries look towards self-sufficiency with their energy. There's a lot of opposition that was going on in Japan and Germany as well. The Sizewell C plan faced opposition from 10,000 East Sussex residents. The experiences in Fukushima, I'm sure, pretty much the entire Japanese population stood against turning the reactors back on. However, that is exactly what their prime minister plans to do. They requested that his minister for industry gets up to 9 nuclear reactors operational by winter. Germany is another critic of nuclear power. They have often gone against what the EU has done with their efforts to include nuclear energy as a green, sustainable investment in their taxonomy. The evident risk posed by the over-reliance on foreign energy has clearly seen a shift within the EU, and they finally include the nuclear in their taxonomy, which labels the energy form of being sustainable. So this is huge. It opens the door for European green bonds to invest in nuclear projects for the first time. And according to 2021 figures, the EDF could have $7.9 billion worth of projects eligible for green funding going forward. This is by far the largest segment that is in consideration. With global attitudes shifting in favor of nuclear once again, we can expect to see demand for the raw materials pick up in the coming years. Supply will also likely expand, although it takes time to get a mine operational once again. Recent talk from the United States over the need to swiftly develop the means to produce uranium concentrate highlights the global push towards building a relatively self-sufficient nuclear industry. As the world transitions towards greater electrification, it's also clear that we cannot continue to burn fossil fuels to create this electricity. It's just simply not enough. With the decline seen throughout global markets helping to dampen elevated sentiment seen in March and April. With support coming into play here, the underlying fundamentals behind uranium demand and supply should help elevate prices once again. With the chief of the UN, the main person from the UN, coming out and he's explaining that countries all over should tax the big oil and gas companies for their excessive profits that they had, that they were grotesque. All of that is very significant because he says if we had invested heavily into renewable energy, 10 or 15 years ago, that's what we're talking about today. They regret it. And this is the direction they're going. There's no doubt about it. This is the direction they're going. They regret not investing heavily into the sector, and now you have these companies, especially in the U.S., where they're seeking to have only domestic supply, and this company, Uranium Energy Corp., it's a solely North American-focused company, the only one out there. Now, the stock has been on a tear. Uranium stocks have been very, very strong throughout this past month, but Uranium Energy Corp., their stock has climbed around 26%. Just the other day, it climbed 5.56% in a single day. So the stock seems to be relentless at this point. And the whole sentiment is shifting. The whole conversation is coming back about uranium. And the problems, the fundamentals have not gotten much better. They need a lot of uranium as they're expanding nuclear power plants all across the world. And that has got to come from somewhere. It's excellent to see Amira and Annie. I've talked to him a few times. And it seems to be everything he does, it turns into gold. He has a lot of success with Gold Mining Inc., a lot of success with Gold Royalty Corp., got a ton of success with Uranium Energy Corp., which has been around for 14 years. It seems like it's a good play. They have a strong backing from institutional investors. They're confident in that. And I'm not sure if you heard about Uranium One. A while back, there was this controversial purchase that was made called Uranium One. And it was done by the government over there in Russia. They purchased it and people were mad. They were talking about how upset they were about this for a long time. They're saying it was a scandal. It was against the national interest of the United States. And that's where Amir, in his keen business sense, comes in. He actually purchased Uranium One from their government. He purchased Uranium One. He acquired that U.S. uranium source by a U.S. company. And this was only like a month before any of this conflict started. So again, it was a brilliant step, a brilliant plan, and they continued to acquire more companies. I think this is a conversation that is about to get started once again. A lot of people are going to miss out. They don't pay attention much to what's going on with uranium. They don't even know anything about uranium. A lot of people don't even understand the changes we're making for our entire electric grid around the world. They're going to need a lot of materials. This company is also highly leveraged to the uranium price. And as America's emerging uranium producer, UEC and their shareholders they're uniquely positioned for substantial gains from the rising price. And they're even suggesting at this point that the price of uranium could double, rising up to around $100. And they're unhedged, with no contracts at preset prices. They are the most highly leveraged to uranium's price compared to all other uranium miners globally. The company stands to restart in their in situ recovery, or the ISR production, from their licensed and operational facilities in South Texas, and to start ISR production in Wyoming. So you need an American company, here's one. This is only with a modest uranium move. With production-ready capacity of 4 million pounds a year that is produced in the U.S., in total at present, a substantial pipeline for additional projects, USC is the next-generation producer, ready to provide low-cost, low-capital fuel. North America's energy analysts, they're highly bullish on uranium today, with limited secondary supplies filling the substantial gap between demand and supply, and with strong growth from the many new reactors under construction and in advanced planning stages globally. The stock keeps going up, up, and up. Don't miss your opportunity. Check out Uranium Energy Core. I think this one's a real winner. I thank you guys for stopping by and joining us. As always, stay free.